Well, Bayou Bulls, CBS, and Paramount Plus equals Big 12 one-stop shopping. I was going to ask Max this, and I did not because we had already asked him quite a bit and obviously had to ask him about Brett Yormark, even though I knew he couldn't say anything, and he didn't, other than just if that's what we're going to do. I wonder if somebody within the Big 12 was asked this. How much more can you go on with your new TV deal in 2025? Can you move forward, or whatever it is? Can you move forward, and would you rather none of those networks you join or stay with be ESPN? Is that cutting your throat?
You can't ask him that, though. You can't ask him that.
I know, but I want to.
Right. Well, of course. There's a lot of questions I'd love to ask people that I know they can't answer, but I know what you're saying, and I'm sure if he was being totally honest and he could get away from them, and the Big 12 could after everything that happened, I'm sure they would like to. But I don't know if that's feasible.
What conferences do not have a tie-in to ESPN?
I mean, I don't even really know, because all of them seem to. I mean,
SEC. They're like the flagship.
The SEC.
The Big 10 does currently.
Yeah.
The Big 12 does.
The Big 12.
The Pac-12. The
Pac-12 is theirs. That Pac-12 late Saturday games, is that an ESPN time?
Yeah, usually. Yeah. So I think it is. And
I say that, and I know everyone's going to say.
Yeah, it's Fox, but I don't think they're exclusive with Fox. I think there's Pac-12.
Well, no,
games
I'm not saying exclusive. I'm saying that everybody, it seemed like, because ESPN, let's say, you can say whatever you want. The guys have done an amazing job over the years of where they are with college football, and yes, maybe more so with some conferences or teams than others.
Yeah, they're all on ESPN. They're all on ESPN somehow or another. Yeah, I mean, Pac-12's ESPN and Fox, Big 12's ABC and I guess ESPN, ABC, and Fox. SEC obviously very much CBS, ESPN, or was, and now CBS is obviously out of the picture there. I mean, so on and so forth. Big Ten is going to be, it's obviously with its own network, but it's had its ties in the entire time, and it's going to probably be on just basically everything when all is said and done and their deal's announced. Like, they could be on 5 different networks the way it's all setting up. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as the Power 5 go, to my knowledge, every single one of them's tied into ESPN somehow or another directly.
Yeah, and look, I know that the networks, I mean, the ones that are interesting to me, because, Fox is really going full tilt with the Big Ten, which to me means they'll probably also, the Pac-12 makes a lot of sense to me there, since those two conferences are kind of joined a little bit. But, I mean, NBC and CBS, and with NBC and Peacock and CBS and Paramount would be interesting alternatives to ESPN, but I don't know if I see the Big 12 getting away from ESPN, because, again...
No, I don't either, and I do think that perhaps when Bowlesby sent the cease and desist because of all of what he was accusing them of, along with the American Conference or what Mike Oreska, whatever else, it all calmed down. It all calmed down. You can say whatever you want, and you wonder in the end if they all said, hey, even ESPN, with all their clout, they still need others, even though they may want to pick and choose who they want.
But I pointed out the other day when was Jimmy Patero or whatever was talking, that he mentioned every conference basically and did not mention the Big 12. And, yeah, they can use all the content they want to, but, I mean, at some point they're going to be so SEC heavy, and then you've got all the other conferences to deal with. Like, how much room is there for the Big 12, and how much can they really give the Big 12 in return? And how much do they really care about the Big 12? Because they haven't given one iota about them. It's seemingly outside of the two brands they've helped, get into another conference that, I don't know, is directly tying and benefited ESPN. So I don't – the fact that they were willing to help slit the throat of the Big 12, although the Big 12 is under contract with them, to take 2 Big 12 teams to add to the conference that they're really focused in on, no, I don't want a damn thing to do with ESPN if I don't have to, but they're tied in with every single thing. But I do wonder, how much does ESPN really care about the remaining Big 12?
Well, it's a great question. The other part of it is if you're not a part of it, and we have seen it, and if you watch it, I watch less of it every day. It used to be where I would want to, at some point during the day, get my juice with a Sports Center. On occasion, I might just bump into it. I do like Scott Van Pelt. I do like him. But you wonder how much that affects eyeballs as far as coverage of you. because some networks aren't going to go full throttle into a game day atmosphere or even late night highlight shows or even evening highlight shows. And I wonder how much that is the value as well. If you're not covered by them, and you eventually just force them to cover you.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, two. I mean, everybody has two options. So, I mean, I just can't see the Big 12 at least not being at least secondarily on ESPN. But, you never know. And I don't know how much that the other ones, I think the big question is, because we've seen it, Apple TV and Amazon are getting into some stuff, but they're looking at professional sports. That's what they're looking at. The Apple TV thing with Major League Soccer is very interesting in that it's just under the banner of the $4.99 a month subscription. But I don't know how much they really care about college sports in the middle of it.
This is what I was trying to say earlier with the Big 12 and the identity and all of that stuff. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when everybody starts talking about streaming and all the options that are out there. Okay, tell me why Paramount wants Iowa State versus Kansas State and how much that really does for Paramount Plus. You know what, as an example.
Compared to last year when they had Georgia versus Auburn.
Right, but even just period, like what they got, 200,000 viewers? I mean, like, is that enough for your streaming service? Like, and that's where, no matter who you're mentioning, that's where I'm curious. Like, I know Ohio State, Michigan draws big. You could put it on Planet Mars and just stream it on YouTube, and it would do great. It would do millions of viewers. But for all those talking about the streamers getting involved and everybody, that's on Netflix. And, like, I see that to an extent, but I'm having trouble, and maybe I'll be totally wrong. And here's the great part. If I'm totally wrong, that's fantastic for college football. I want to be totally wrong on this. But I just don't know where the market is for some of these streamers and what kind of money we're talking about and what they get in return to cover any games that aren't, your big, massive teams playing each other. Because this isn't just flipping on the TV. This is streaming. You got to have this app to watch these games. Well, for Paramount Plus, is the Big 12 in its future state, is that worth sinking a bunch of millions into? Do you feel like you're going to get that in return? I hope so. I hope somebody's willing to do that. But is everybody going to be ponying up to the table like it's been made out to be? I don't know about that because I don't know how much.
We're always told no, and yet everything.
I get it. I get live sports, live content's king and all that. But like at some point, you get to a part where you're like, okay, we spent all this money. Look at what we're now whittled. Like, are we really getting bang for the buck at this point? Just to have stuff to have stuff. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Like I said, every year here there's a bubble that the bubble's going to pop, and then here we are 5, 10, 20 years after I even remember bringing something up like that up, or people writing columns about the sports television network bubble's going to pop, and here we are, and everything continues to rise. This is from the 213. Nobody in sports can get away from ESPN. Just in cross-marketing alone, ESPN is Disney, ABC with a $175 billion market cap. ESPN can take on anybody if they want it. They will get it. They do not want the Big 12. This is from the 213. When someone tells you who they are or what they do or do not want, believe them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Again, like Craig said, last week you didn't even in passing mention the Big 12. No. That could have been misspeaking, but wouldn't you usually, when you have brands, like, okay, on the other side of the company at Disney, they don't miss a shot to tell you everything they've got or that they would want to get. Never. Like they don't, and if they forget things and somebody tweets them, somebody from the PR department is like, oh yeah, we love that too. That's what they do. And ESPN on the same side of that company goes, here's what we like, and then moved on.
Whatever his name is, Pitaro mentioned F1. He mentioned Texas and OU specifically, which is the only thing that even touched the Big 12. Never mentioned the Big 12, but mentioned those two schools. Mentioned SEC, mentioned the Big 10, mentioned the Pac-12. Mentioned all sorts of things, but never mentioned the Big 12. And I mentioned that at the time we were talking about it, and maybe I was making too much of it, but I don't think so. I think that's the type of thing where you can read too much into certain things, but when you got that guy in particular talking and mentioning all the other things that he mentioned and all the college football that he talked and mentioning 3 conferences outright by name, and he doesn't even sniff the Big 12.
Who wrote that article?
I mean, various people. whoever he did the interview with. I
You know
don't
what I'm
recall
going to do?
that.
I'm going to write. I'm going to contact the writer. And you're right. I remember when you did.
He's on Richard Deitch's podcast.
Okay, I know. I have his number. I'm going to call him and ask him. Throughout that entire time when you were discussing that, was that just something was left out because it wasn't, or is that just completely just not mentioned at all?
Yeah, he didn't have to mention.
However, we've been very thoughtful about this, and there's still plenty of room for Big Ten and Pac-12. We're pursuing both. No one should misinterpret. When we did this SEC deal, no one at ESPN said, okay, that means we're walking away from another conference. So, very much with the SEC, as we all knew. However, we've been very thoughtful about this, and there's still plenty of room for Big Ten and Pac-12. We're pursuing both. No one should miss. I mean, yeah, he didn't mention the Big 12.
Yeah, and look, he didn't mention the ACC because they already have them, but, that's kind of like an afterthought to them, too.
And maybe it's an afterthought because the Big 12 is still under contract for a couple of years, but that's just something that I picked up on and definitely seemed notable at the time.
All right, a lot of you were discussing that as well.